Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're gonna, kind of go beyond that little blue cloud icon that we all know and love, and get into like the real details of OneDrive backup.
Okay.
So OneDrive, I mean, you use it probably every day for file access, for collaboration. It's fantastic for that kind of stuff. But when it comes to actually protecting your data, is it really enough?
Right.
And that's what we want to talk about today. Like, why protecting your data truly means you got to go beyond what OneDrive just built in.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. OneDrive is like so tightly woven into the way we all work, especially for those like core file types. I'm talking
Right.
media, emails, all those documents and spreadsheets. But the truth is, when it comes to losing that data, things can get kind of complicated.
Yeah, it gets messy. So
Yeah.
it's like OneDrive is like your reliable daily driver. But then when you want to go off-roading, when you're ready for those data storms, that's when we need something more, right?
Yeah, that's a great way to put it, actually. Those built-in OneDrive features, they're super useful for those small data hiccups, what we call operational recovery. Things like accidentally hitting delete. I think we've all been there, that moment of panic when you realize you emptied your cloud recycle bin way too soon.
Yeah, I've been there, done that.
Yeah.
Have the T-shirt.
Yeah.
But what about those scarier threats out there, like a ransomware attack? I mean, that's not just a deleted file. That's a whole data hostage situation.
Oh, yeah, yeah, absolutely. And then there's also those less dramatic, but, still really annoying scenarios like syncing errors and file corruption. They can just sneak up on you and compromise your data without you even knowing it.
Right. So it's like OneDrive gives you this little first aid kit. But what we really need is like a full-blown data hospital.
You got it. So OneDrive, it does offer things like version history and the recycle bin, but those are really limited in like how far back they go and how many versions they keep. I mean, they might help you get back a file you deleted a few weeks ago or, an older version, but when it comes to like long-term protection or, recovering from a major crash, it's just not enough.
Yeah, that's where you start to see those limitations of just using the native features. It's kind of like, relying on a bike helmet when you're in the Indy 500.
Right, right. You need more. You need like a higher level of protection, something more than just the basic stuff. That's where a really strong backup solution comes in, something from a third party.
Okay, so now we're talking about adding layers of armor, building a data fortress around our OneDrive.
Exactly. You need a solution that can protect you against all kinds of threats.
And I imagine this is where having expertise really matters, right? It can be super overwhelming to know what to look for, what questions to even ask.
Yeah, it can be. And this is where companies that really know what they're doing, companies like StoneFly that have been in the data protection game for like over 20 years, can be so valuable. I mean, they really know the ins and outs of backup and disaster recovery, and they can create solutions that meet your specific needs.
Yeah, I mean, the StoneFly has been a pioneer in the field. They even developed the very first ISCSI, SN,
Yeah, they did. And their deep knowledge of how data storage works, plus their focus on security and always coming up with new ideas, makes them a real leader in the backup and disaster recovery world. Their website, stonefly.com, is a really great place to learn more about how to protect your data.
And I've heard that they're awesome at working one-on-one with their clients to find the perfect solution.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. They take the time to understand your specific data situation, and then they build a custom solution just for you, based on your risks and what you need to recover if things go wrong. They get that one-size-fits-all just doesn't cut it when it comes to data protection.
So it's all about having a partner who gets it, someone who can help you through the whole backup maze and find a solution that gives you that peace of mind.
Exactly. And that's what sets a company like StoneFly apart. They're not just trying to sell you something. They're offering their knowledge, their guidance, and their commitment to making sure that your data is safe and that you can get it back no matter what happens.
Now, before we move on, can we dive a little deeper into those two levels of data protection you mentioned, the operational and the disaster recovery? It seems like understanding the difference between those two is super important for building that data fortress we talked about.
Sure. Let's break it down. So operational recovery, that's your front line. It's there to deal with those little data hiccups that happen every day. Think of it like a safety net for your data when you accidentally delete something or maybe a file gets a little corrupted. This is where those native OneDrive features can be helpful.
Okay, so like having a spare tire in your car. Get you back on the road after a minor mishap.
Exactly. But then there's disaster recovery, and that's a whole other ball game. We're talking about bouncing back from those really bad things that could totally shut down your work. Think ransomware attacks, natural disasters, or even when your hardware just totally gives up.
Okay, so this is less about a flat tire and more like your car spontaneously combusts.
Yeah, pretty much. And
Absolutely.
that's where OneDrive by itself might not be enough.
Okay, so we know that a strong backup strategy is key, especially when we're talking about OneDrive. But how do we actually get started? What are the steps to build that data fortress?
That's a good question because, it's easy to say backups are important, but actually doing it right is a whole other thing.
You're right, having a clear plan can really make a difference.
So let's map it out. What's the first step on our backup journey?
First, you have to decide what you're backing up. What data do you really need to protect? How often does it change? And how fast do you need to be able to get it back if something goes wrong? What we call your recovery time objectives. So it's like taking inventory, figuring out which data is the most valuable, the crown jewels that need that extra protection.
Right. You also need to think about how long you need to keep those backups. Sometimes there are rules, especially for businesses, that say how long you have to keep that data around.
Right, like creating a data archive,
Hmm.
making sure you have all those old records just in case you need them for legal or auditing purposes.
Exactly. Once you know what you need to back up and for how long, then you can start looking at different backup solutions.
Okay, so let's talk solutions. What are our options, and how do we pick the right one for our needs?
Great question. You have a few different paths you can take, each with its own advantages and disadvantages. There's the traditional on-premises backup, where you store everything on your own hardware, like a dedicated server or maybe a NAS device, network-attached storage. This gives you total control over your backups, but it can get expensive and complicated to manage, especially for bigger companies.
So it's like having your own personal data bunker. Sounds cool, but it probably takes a lot of work to maintain.
You got it. Then there's cloud backup, where your backups are kept in a secure data center that's run by a third-party provider. This is really good because it's scalable, you can access it from anywhere, and it's often more affordable. But the trade-off is that you're trusting someone else to keep your data safe and make sure everything runs smoothly.
So it's like your data is guarded by a team of digital knights in a super secure fortress somewhere out there in the cloud.
Love that analogy. And then you have hybrid backup solutions. These are kind of the best of both worlds. You keep some backups locally so you can restore them quickly if you need to, and then store others in the cloud for long-term safekeeping and disaster recovery.
So it's like having a spare tire for those little emergencies and a full-blown insurance policy for when things get really bad. Easy options and peace of mind.
Exactly. So which one is right for you? Well, that really depends on your specific needs, your budget, and how much risk you're comfortable with. Do you need to be able to access your backups instantly? Do you have to follow certain regulations? How comfortable are you with a third party holding your data? These are all important things to think about.
Yeah, I can see how this is where having an expert would be super helpful. Someone who understands all the different backup options and can help you find the one that fits your situation best.
Absolutely. And this is another area where a company like StoneFly really stands out. They have tons of experience designing and setting up backup solutions for all kinds of organizations, from small businesses to huge enterprises, and they know that each organization needs a unique approach.
And StoneFly's been doing this for a long time, right? Over 20 years in the data storage world. They've seen it all, from the early days of SAN technology to the cloud revolution and everything in between.
Exactly. And they're always evolving and coming up with new ideas to stay ahead of the game. They offer solutions that can handle all the latest data protection challenges that their clients face. Go check out their website, stonefly.com. They have a whole section dedicated to their backup and disaster recovery solutions, plus a bunch of resources like white papers and case studies. It's a really great way to learn more.
Wow, so it's like having a whole data protection library right at your fingertips. And I've also heard that their team is really responsive and supportive. They walk their clients through every step, from figuring out what they need to setting everything up and even managing it all on an ongoing basis.
Yeah, that's something they're really proud of, providing personalized guidance and support, making sure that their clients feel confident and like they're in control when it comes to protecting their data. And since we're on the topic of feeling empowered, let's talk about some important things to keep in mind when you're looking at different backup solutions.
Okay, let's do it. What are those must-haves, the things you absolutely cannot compromise on when choosing a backup solution?
Well, at the top of the list is security. You need a solution that's got those ironclad security features to protect your data from snoopers, hackers, and any kind of cyber attack. We're talking encryption, both while the data is moving and when it's stored so no one can peek at your information, and also multi-factor authentication, so only the people who are supposed to have access to your backups can get in.
So it's like having multiple layers of security around your data vault, reinforced walls, laser beams, biometric scanners, the works.
You got it. Another thing you really want is data immutability. This means that your backups are locked down, they can't be changed or deleted, even by someone who has admin access.
So it's like having a tamper-proof seal on your data backups, making them completely immune to ransomware or accidental deletions. That's huge.
Absolutely. This is super important these days because ransomware attacks are getting more and more advanced, and they can specifically target your backups.
Okay, so security is number one. What else should we be looking for?
Ease of use is a big one. Your backup solution should be easy to manage, even for people who aren't tech experts. A simple interface, clear dashboards, and processes that run automatically can make a huge difference in making sure your backups are running smoothly and that you can recover your data quickly when you need to.
So it's like having a backup solution that's as easy to use as your favorite smartphone app. You don't need to be a computer whiz to figure it out.
Exactly. And this is another thing that StoneFly has put a lot of effort into. Their solutions are built to be user-friendly, so even non-technical users can manage their backups and restore their data without any hassle. They believe that data protection shouldn't be a headache or require special skills.
That makes so much sense, especially for smaller companies that might not have their own IT department or people with a lot of technical know-how.
Exactly. Another crucial thing is scalability. Your backup solution should be able to grow with your data. As your business grows, you're going to have more data to protect, and your backup solution needs to be able to handle that without slowing down or becoming unreliable.
So it's like having a backup solution that can expand and adapt as your data universe grows, making sure you never run out of space or processing power.
You nailed it. And this is another area where StoneFly does really well. Their solutions are designed to be super scalable, so you can easily add more storage and processing power as your needs change.
That kind of flexibility is so important, especially now when the amount of data we create is growing so fast and it's hard to predict what you'll need in the future.
You're right. The last thing you want is to be caught off guard with a backup solution that can't keep up with your data. Okay, so let's switch gears a bit and talk about recovery.
Yeah, because backups are useless if you can't actually get your data back when you need it, right? It's like having a fire escape plan,
Yeah,
but when you need to use it, you realize the ladder's broken.
exactly. Your backup solution needs to give you fast and dependable recovery options. This means having different ways to recover your data. Like full system restores, granular file recovery, and point-in-time recovery. That way, you can get your data back quickly and easily no matter what happened.
So it's like having a whole data recovery toolkit with different tools for different situations. You might need a sledgehammer for a major rebuild or a scalpel for those precision data extractions.
I like that. And this is another area where StoneFly excels. Their solutions give you a range of recovery options, so you can choose the best way to get your data back, whether you need to restore your whole system from scratch or just recover a few files that were accidentally deleted or got corrupted.
That level of control is so important, especially when time is of the essence and you need to get back up and running as quickly as possible.
Absolutely. StoneFly's solutions are designed to minimize downtime and make sure you don't lose any data, helping you recover quickly from any incidents.
Okay, so we've covered security, ease of use, scalability, and recovery. What else is there to consider when we're comparing different backup solutions?
Support and expertise are really important too. You want to go with the provider that offers excellent customer support and really knows their stuff when it comes to data protection best practices. This means having access to knowledgeable tech support people, good documentation, and helpful resources like knowledge bases and training materials.
So it's like having a lifeline. Know you can get help if you run into problems or have questions about your backup solution.
You got it. And StoneFly is known for its amazing customer support. They have a team of really skilled engineers and support staff who are available 24/7 to help their clients. They understand that data protection is critical for any business, and they're committed to providing top-notch support to give their clients peace of mind.
Having that kind of support can make all the difference, especially when you're dealing with a stressful situation like losing some of your data.
Absolutely. Knowing you've got a reliable partner to help you through the recovery process can take away a lot of the worry and uncertainty.
Okay, so we've talked about what to look for in a backup solution, but I'm still curious. How do we know if a backup solution is actually working like it's supposed to? How can we be sure that our backups are reliable and we'll be able to get our data back when we need it?
That's a great question, and it's one that a lot of people don't think about. This having backups isn't enough. You need to make sure they actually work and that you can recover your data quickly and without any problems when something bad happens.
So it's not just about backing up the data, it's about being able to restore it too, right? It's like that fire escape plan, but when you try to use it, you realize the ladder's broken.
Exactly. That's where testing comes in. You have to test your backups regularly to make sure they're okay and that you can restore your data without any problems. This is something that companies like StoneFly really emphasize. They know that backups are only as good as their ability to be restored.
So it's like having fire drills for your data. You practice what to do if there's a fire so that everyone knows how to get out safely.
That's a great way to think about it. Regular testing is essential for finding any issues with your backups and making your recovery process better. It also helps you figure out how to improve things and make sure your backups are in line with your changing data needs and what you're trying to achieve with your business.
So it's not something you set up once and then forget about. It's an ongoing process.
Exactly. Data protection is a journey, not a destination. And it takes effort, attention to detail, and a commitment to always finding ways to make things better.
Okay, we're back, and it's time to wrap up our deep dive into OneDrive backup. We've learned a lot, haven't we? From OneDrive's limitations to what makes a really good backup strategy.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground, and we talked about how important it is to pick the right backup solution and how companies like StoneFly can be such a big help, guiding organizations through all the complicated parts of data protection.
It's so clear that data backup isn't just some IT thing you check off a list. It's really crucial for keeping your business running smoothly and for your own peace of mind.
For sure. And it's something that everyone, whether you're an individual or a huge business, needs to be thinking about. We often don't realize how important our data is until it's gone, and by then, it's often too late.
It's like that old saying, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Putting in the effort to have a good backup strategy is way easier than dealing with the mess of losing your data.
So true. And knowing your data is safe and sound, that's priceless.
Okay, as we finish up, what are the main things you want our listeners to remember? What are those key takeaways?
The biggest thing is that OneDrive is great for working together and sharing files, but it's not a perfect solution for protecting your data all by itself. Those built-in features, they have limits, and they might not be enough if you have a major data loss.
So don't just rely on what OneDrive gives you out of the box. Build your own data fortress. Get a strong backup solution from a third party.
Right. And when you're looking at different backup solutions, think about things like security, how easy it is to use, if it can grow with your needs, scalability, what kind of recovery options it offers, and the level of support and expertise that the provider has.
And remember, companies like StoneFly are experts in this. They
Yeah,
really understand data protection and they want their customers to be happy. They can be a huge help.
definitely. They can help you through the whole process, find the right solutions for your needs, and make sure your data is always safe and that you can get it back if you need to.
So do your research, ask questions, and don't be afraid to get help from the experts. Your data is worth it.
Absolutely. And don't forget, data protection is something you have to keep working at. Test your backups often, check your backup plan, and stay up to date on the latest threats and best practices.
Yeah, it's like staying in shape to your data. You got to work out those data defenses regularly and have regular checkups to keep everything strong and resilient.
That's a great way to put it. If you put in a little effort and find the right partners to work with, you can make sure your data is always safe and that you can access it whenever you need it. That frees you up to focus on what really matters, your work, your creative projects, and having that peace of mind.
Well said. Well, that wraps up our deep dive into OneDrive backup. I hope everyone listening found it helpful and informative.
Don't forget, data protection isn't just about tech stuff. It's about protecting your whole digital life and giving yourself peace of mind. Take control of your data today.
Thanks for joining us, everyone. And if you have any questions about OneDrive backup or want to check out what StoneFly has to offer, visit their website at stonefly.com or email them at sales@stonefly.com.
Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and stay protected.